Hey, welcome to ako.dev. My name is William. I'm a former coding bootcamp instructor, and today I wanted to kind of talk about, is a coding bootcamp for everybody? Short answer, nope. Stick around. Let me give you some questions, some insider details, and some information that might help you make this really hard decision, because it's both time consuming and economical for some people. And I know that a lot of persons bet a lot of marbles in a coding bootcamp to maybe change their lives. So let me give you what I know. Hopefully this makes your decision a lot easier and makes your choice the best one for you. Stick around. All right. So I took a boot camp around 5 years ago. I went for the ones that are associated with universities. Usually they're managed by Trilogy, and you have the school who kind of partners up with them. And I took the boot camp. It was a great experience. I had a great instructor. And after that process, I was able to get a job in the field and kind of move up through there. Currently, I am a UI engineer at a company in Manhattan. So I stuck around. I became, once I finished the course, I stuck around to become a TA and kind of help other students, because in my opinion, it did change my life for the better. And I kind of was a TA for about 2 or 3 years before I moved on to become kind of like a sub instructor, and then a full-time, not a full-time instructor of one of the boot camps themselves, or one of the cohorts. And one of the things that I've been able to see during, through this time is that a lot of people have joined, the coding bootcamp, and it hasn't been successful for everybody. Now, yeah, I know that that's probably the most obvious, detail here, data point. But, one of the things that I have been able to isolate about people is that it's not for everybody, because there's certain kind of things that you want to see if you like, before you get into this, right? First of all, I know that there's different type of boot camps. I know there's part-time boot camps that go, I think, about 6 months. I know there's full-time ones that go for about 3 months. And I know that there's some like type of asynchronous, do it at your own pace type of boot camps. Now, I can't speak for, for the asynchronous ones, because I just haven't been part of them. I took the 6 months ones, and I've always worked, kind of in a 6-month boot camp. And I think that's a nice sweet spot, because one, if you're not, if you don't have a full-time job, it gives you enough time to kind of consume the content, right? And be able to kind of be ready for each of the classes. I've known a lot of people that do the 3-month one, and it's very fast-paced, and I think it's actually too tight to get people where they should be by the end of the cohort. And the asynchronous one, I have no idea. I mean, I think I'm not a person that can do it by myself. If you just let me go and read and do it by yourself and pay for that, I'm not on board. I don't think it's a great idea. Now, things that you want to see or ask yourself, right? First of all, if you're doing it for the money, that's totally fine. I think, hey, we're all doing it for the money. I don't really see that being a problem. But you should have some level of curiosity towards technology, right? Because even if you are doing it for the money, you do want to try to stay as close as you can, because technology evolves and everything is changing. So you want to kind of be, what's going on, right? At least I don't want you to be living on that edge, but, every now and then at least have that curiosity to see what's happening. And not everybody has that. So that's the first one. The second one is coding is frustrating, right? There's moments where you get to hit these walls where your code doesn't work or you can't figure it out. And that could be for the most minuscule reason that you can think of. You had the wrong casing on a word. You added a semicolon where you shouldn't have, or instead of a comma in an object, for example, right? Like so many things that just are they get you to that point where you're like, you want to flip the table. So one of the things that you need to know is going into this career, not only the bootcamp, but into the career of becoming a software developer, is you're going to hit these snags. And if you don't have the resilience, right? If you don't have that, not willpower, but that ability to be like, okay, I'm going to get over this. I'm going to just step away, take a walk. I'll come back and look at it again. Then that's another thing. Maybe that's another red flag that you want to take into consideration, because this happens not only during the bootcamp, but throughout your career. You're always going to hit these snags where you don't know how to fix things, or it's not as obvious, at first sight, to be able to fix them. And another thing is you want to you want to have some basic English. Now, I speak English and Spanish, so I've been able to sometimes help people in other languages, but there is a base level of English. Again, I know that this can sound obvious, but I've seen students sign up to some of these boot camps. I don't know how they've been allowed to get signed up, but I've seen students that have, very basic English. And the thing with development is, yes, I don't think it matters if you speak another language, but you need to have at least, a reading level of English, because documentation is in English, Stack Overflow, right, is in English. And it's going to be hard for you, if you speak another language, to find as much content for those errors, for those problems, as you would in English. And I think the last one is, you have to ask yourself, if you really want it, right? Because those frustrations, maybe that curiosity, maybe you might not be on like extreme curiosity level, but you have to have that grit, right? Coding, and I say this a lot, is like a sport, right? Think about it like if you're playing a game of soccer, right? Coding is a sport, and you need to be able to practice it on a daily basis, especially when you're starting. Later down the road, I guess that can depend on your ability, but especially when you're starting, you kind of need to practice it every day. It's a sport, right? So if you want to hit 3-pointers like Curry from the 3-pointer line, I mean, you gotta sink in a million of those baskets before you can do it with your eyes closed. Same thing is with coding. You need to constantly be practicing and practicing and practicing, and through that process of practicing, right, you start seeing some patterns, you start figuring some of those errors out. So there's a level of resilience and a level of kind of commitment that you need to have to make coding happen, right? Now, again, does that mean that you have to come in with all of these things and you're born with all of these things, and if you're not, you can't do coding? No, I'm just trying to put things out there for you to consider before you apply to one of these schools. Maybe try to work on them beforehand, right? There's a bunch of free resources. Try to take, free coding, free coding camp, and see how you do with that, right? See how you feel with that. Try to, buy there's a bunch of different coding courses online. Try to take one of those and see how you feel about them, right? Test the waters. Now, the opportunities in coding currently are very ample, right? I think they are very promising. Yes, the fight, I think for a lot of junior developers, it feels like little turtles being born, right? They're all racing for the ocean, and only a few kind of make it. Everybody else kind of dies in the process. It's a very, very similar situation. It's not an easy, when you're a junior developer, it's not that easy to get that first job, but it's also not impossible, right? So the fact that there is room, and there's still a lot of companies hiring, and there's still a lot of demand for people doing development, in the front end, back end, full stack, you name it. But definitely that first job is going to take a bit of a toll to get there. But I can promise you, once you do, it opens the door for a lot more things, right? And just a couple of questions again that you can ask yourself. Do you have real interests, right? Do you have interest for computers, for technology? Because you are going to need that interest there. Are you a resilient person? Will you be able to kind of set yourself on some type of schedule on a daily basis, hopefully, that you can stick to it and try to code every single day? Do you have that grit to overcome, those frustrating moments when you're like, you hit a wall, you hit a snag, you can't figure it out, right? How do you deal with that, right? If you just flip your computer and walk away and never want to look again, then this is probably not the best career choice. And lastly is, some of this basic English. It's key, right? You're gonna need it sooner or later. So, might as well come in with it, right? If you don't feel that your English is up to par, maybe go a little bit more deeper in learning English before you kind of come into the coding environment. And then from there, it's an amazing career. It opens a lot of opportunities. I think it allows for growth, and now with a lot more remote jobs and a lot more opportunities from that point, you can compete in a lot more markets that maybe before were a little bit more closed. So yeah, I think it's a great moment to continue to take the leap into becoming development. But of course, I would evaluate all these things. All of them are going to be important to be able to finish the course. Lastly, if I had to pick a course, I would say, the longer the course, 6 months or so would be probably the best one to be able not only to take the classes or the courses, but also allows you enough time to study and keep practicing, right? It's like trying to become, a Cristiano Ronaldo, a Messi in 3 months. I mean, it's going to be really hard, right? Even in 6 months, it's going to be hard. But if you're practicing every day, I think it increases your opportunities to be able to achieve that goal. So, let us know if you have any more questions. This is mostly a heart-to-heart. I've kind of talked to a couple of friends, and they wanted to know, hey, you became a developer. Can I become a developer? And this is not to discourage anybody. I think this is just to try to ask the right questions to see if this is what you want to do, see if this kind of fits with your profile. So, till next time, my name is William. This is ako.dev. Hit the like button. Throw us a couple of comments. Let us know what other things you want us to keep, walking down this path of teaching, of learning, of figuring out. And it's our pleasure to make it happen. So, thanks. Have a good one.